you all get started with providing or continuing to provide that intervention and targeted supports for students, we'll close our time together today with highlighting some opportunities to receive and access additional roadmap supports and just some resources for you all. As we stated earlier, you will have access to this recording. Should you have any questions at any time, please do not hesitate to lean in and utilize the chat to share those questions. And again, you will have our contact information. So if today feels a little too rushed or you need more time, no worries. You'll have the recording and some contact information to receive some more individual support from all of us here. But I don't know about you guys. I'm ready to get into the meat and potatoes here. So what is Roadmap? So again, you might already have some introduction to Roadmap. I know your school has used it in the past, but just as a quick recap or perhaps an introduction to Roadmap, Roadmaps is a personalized student learning experience. It's customized to support classroom instruction. It's a robust toolkit that's focused on stemming math learning loss and enabling that acceleration. Roadmaps was really designed to help enable students to master those pre and on and post grade skills. This tool really enables students and teachers like you all to track student progress for each skill in their roadmap. This roadmap, again, I mentioned that toolkit because the toolkit also really includes these digitally enabled teaching planning tools and instructional content for you all. So we're going to spend time not just talking about what is Roadmap, but I really want to spend time diving into looking at that portal of Roadmaps. But I thought that having this context might be really helpful for you all. So to dive deeper into building our context about Roadmaps, I want to encourage you all to watch the video. Later on, we'll share the link with you all, but it's a video just explaining more about Roadmaps and more history about it, looking into the data report, just more juicy things for you all if you got some free time and want to explore further. But in the spirit of exploring here, let's explore some of those learning benefits here. The student learning benefits, it's right here for us. It's the personalized roadmap that our students receive. So students have the opportunity to hone in on those targeted skills that's essential to long-term academic and professional success. Students receive that targeted development, which means they're able to regularly and consistently access learning materials and review content and explore resources in a variety of different modes. So by modes, I mean, it could be a printable resource. Perhaps it could be a video that they're watching. Maybe it's an interactive game. They also have the opportunity to engage with the Teach for One roadmaps and their preferred learning method. So perhaps I prefer in collaborative spaces and peer-to-peer learning, there's opportunities for them to access those learning preferences through the Teach to One roadmap resources. We also have the student learning benefits of students being able to kind of exercise agency and tracking their own learning and owning that learning. So I can see, oh my gosh, I have 97% complete, or I'm 63% complete, or I scored 60% on this test, versus them nagging, when's my test, what's my score, it's my score. They can access that on their own. So there is this autonomy, especially I think I heard someone mention 8th grade, to preparing them for high school, for them to be able to track and monitor their own learning. And these are just some of the benefits here. There definitely is more that you'll be able to experience as you play with learning. I'll play with this a little bit more. There's also some teacher-facing benefits as well. I just want to highlight just a few of them. So you all have access to planning and student data that's going to support you all with making those data-driven decisions. You also have access to sort of a charcuterie of instructional tools and lessons that are principle and content aligned. And then it's also this ongoing implementation, like right now, getting those supports and trainings to help you get things off the ground. So you have access to these things as well. This is not just a one-off. At the end of this training or this time together, you have the continued supports from all of us here. Now, the way Roadmap is designed, when students engage with this tool, they essentially embark on this journey, or kind of like this flow chart right here. So students, first, you see here in 1, they would select a skill. This skill is assigned by a teacher, or perhaps it's a skill from our recommended skill list. Next, students try and sample questions, or they take notes, or perhaps they might watch an introductory video on that particular skill. Then as they move along here in their roadmap or throughout this flow chart, students deepen their learning by completing a lesson or an activity, or perhaps several activities, depending on the teacher recommendation or your preference for them. And then if students feel ready and prepared to demonstrate an understanding of the skill, they will now take an assessment on that particular skill. The assessment consists of 5 multiple choice questions or fill in the blank questions that on average take 5 to 10 minutes to complete. So students would do that individually, and then they would have the opportunity, which we encourage everyone to do this with their students, to interpret those assessment results. Interpreting those results would mean, did I pass, did I fail, where did I struggle at, what part of the skill, is it a vocabulary part of the skill I'm struggling with, or perhaps I'm struggling with figuring out the best strategy to solve this problem. So there's opportunities for them to revisit. And although we're seeing assessment, I know sometimes there's a mindset around that. Students can continue to retake this assessment and get the highest score, continue to take the assessment and give themselves a little bit of competition and try to perform their best. So it's not just a one-off for students as well. So just wanted to give you this little bit of context as to what roadmaps is, and then this flow chart as to how students would flow through roadmaps to complete mastering some of those skills. Now, I really want for us to think about the juicy part. How are you all going to support students? So when students get started with roadmaps, they initially take a diagnostic test to determine some of those strengths and to also determine areas of improvement or areas of growth. They then receive some recommended skills and teacher-assigned skills as well. From those recommended or assigned skills, students now have access to lessons and intervention and review materials and interactive content. So when educators get started with roadmaps, it's important for all of us to be familiar with the reports and the information that we would regularly engage with. So I want you guys to make sure you write this part down or pause the recording if you're watching this tomorrow. The first things that you want to make sure you do when you're supporting the students here is to access 3 different reports. There's multiple reports, but the ones I recommend and we recommend as a team for you to access is the assessment history. And I'll show you that in a minute. That assessment history report, that provides detailed information on the number of assessments a student has taken on a particular skill. And it also details how students performed each time. So for example, you got a 60 each time, or you got a 40 each time. Are you noticing progress? That might give us information on where we might need to provide targeted supports with students. The other report you want to write down or pause this recording on is the help request. The help request does exactly what it sounds like. It provides information on specific skills that students requested help on. That third report you want to look at, or the piece of information, is the teacher assigned skills. These are the skills that the math teacher has manually perhaps went in and assigned to a specific student because the teacher knows this student and knows the needs, and perhaps went in and just made these adjustments for different reasons. So you want to make sure it's the assessment history, you're leveraging that one, help request you're leveraging, and you're also leveraging that teacher assigned skill tab here. After accessing these things, and again, using your context of the students, you know your class culture, you know the students best. As someone who is supporting students with this, I would then begin to consider, well, what are the best resources to support this student? What are the best resources I can leverage? Now that I understand where they're struggling with, I understand they requested help on this, the teacher assigned this skill, and they did not pass that particular assessment. Now I'm thinking, what are those resources? So that's where I want us to spend some time diving into those particular resources. So I'm going to actually switch screens here and show you all roadmaps.
While you're doing that, Latoya, switching over to the platform, I'm just curious, do all of your students, did they take the diagnostic already when they
Yes,
come to you? Okay.
They took it in their 7th grade interventions classes. So it's only the 7th grade that's that has this platform, but all the 7th graders have taken it.
Okay, perfect.
So they are working with you to see if we can add.
That was a good question.
So if there may be a small group that might have to take the diagnostic at first, if
Okay.
they are able to give me like.
License, okay. So I don't know if you were able to hear our director, but she was saying that they are working with us to give those students who are on the cusp or a small percentage access to the platform. So they may have to still take, once they get in, they will have to take the diagnostic test.
Okay, I just wanted to point out for the diagnostic, it takes students about an hour. Do you all give MAP?
Yes, we do MAP.
Okay, so we actually have a potential of, if you have current MAP scores for those students, we can use those scores to set up their roadmap instead of having them use another 1 or 2 intervention classes to take the diagnostic. So that might be something we can talk about, is using their MAP score.
Okay.
Okay. Yes, thanks, Michelle. Thanks for leaning in with that. So just monitoring the time here. I want to just spend a couple of minutes here just showing you all the teacher portal here. So right now I'm signed in as a teacher. I want you guys to see this side of here. You'll see here on the left of your screen here, the navigation side, we have our home tab or our home page here, which just provides a snapshot of information, including skills that students are currently working on. Then we have our students tab. There we go, which provides us just with again, another snapshot as to where our students are in their individual ladder, what skills they might need to still work on. We also have our teachers tabs, which we probably won't engage with that one too much. It's more of the admin who would perhaps use that tab to look at signing in, for example. Then we have our help requests tab. Again, that's the tab we would use to find out as a class, what are the skills the students have requested help on? For example, we're looking at solving two-step inequalities. That's a skill that I'm noticing that this particular student has requested help on. And then we have our assignments tab, which is the tab that would include the skills that our teachers have assigned to students. What I want us to do is, looking at our students tab, let's select one particular student. Let's say, I'm going to dive into this. Let's say Maria is the student we're selecting with. That's the student that's been assigned to our intervention group. We want to make sure that we're giving Maria all the things she needs to be supported. So clicking on Maria's name, and again, you would have your student's name assigned to your class. Clicking on her individual name, I have profile information about Maria, which just gives me, her grade level, first and last name, pretty basic self-explanatory information. It lets me know how many times Maria has logged in, and then what class Maria is enrolled in. Then I have my task. This is where I mentioned those teacher assigned skills here. So now these are the skills that the teacher individually has assigned, and then here are the recommended skills that Roadmap has recommended for Maria based on Maria's diagnostics and assessments. Use this information here to determine where should I dive in and where should I begin? Where should I start with working with students? Well, I'm going to start with looking at the skills that they need to receive additional support with. So let's say it is scatter plots, noticing there's room for growth. I would click on the scatter plot card. Click on the card. Notice that now it takes me to accessing more resources and information about this scatter plots. So again, keeping in mind, Maria understanding what type of student she is, and we've had the opportunity to assess, we engaged in that flow chart. So now we can assess where she struggled with before. And let's say before it was vocabulary. Now I can send Maria here to revisit vocabulary. Maria, for the next 10 minutes of intervention, I want you to spend 10 minutes of really diving into vocabulary, writing this down, using them in a sentence. I'm not sure. You can be really creative with how you want Maria to engage in vocabulary. Perhaps you realize that Maria just really needs more at-bats with taking a test. She gets test anxiety, let's just say. So Maria, let's practice taking the test again. So now Maria can now access sample test questions that will help build her confidence and her competence with this particular skill. And in engaging in the sample test questions as they're loading, she also may have the opportunity to partner with someone else. Let's say we look at our resources here, lessons. The lessons here, which is one of my favorite tabs here, provides me with access to more materials for Maria. So let's say a peer-to-peer activity, because that's how Maria learns best. I can now direct her and have a small group, a rotating group of students and working with peer-to-peer activities who are focusing on scatter plots. Notice here, as we're visiting on this page, I also have a plethora. Remember, I used the word charcuterie of resources here. So I have iExcel practice sets, if that's something, we can use that. I also have math games, interactive things that we have for Maria to use. There's printable materials for you all, these worksheets, for example. Sometimes people like myself, they're visual learners. I want to watch a video, and Maria can now watch this video, which will free you up, let's say, to go work with a smaller group of students who don't need help with scatter plots, but perhaps they really need support with those two-step equations, writing those out. So now you can work with those students while Maria can work perhaps individually and watching this video, or with a peer in this particular activity, or in a collaborative space on this activity, or individually, she can perhaps be engaging in a sample practice test. So there's multiple resources that's available for Maria. Our job would be trying to help her leverage the best one that meets her learning, perhaps preference and style, that also is going to meet what's feasible for you, what's in your capacity. If you're, do you have the capacity to have these different groups, or is it a day of just individual reflection? So taking all these different pieces into consideration here. The other tab that I wanted you to all to focus on, we have a teacher assigned skill, remember, was that assessment tab here. This tab is going to give us information on how Maria performed on her assessment. So remember, scatter plots was a skill that we recognized Maria needed support with. So I can see here, she took this assessment on February 22nd. I'm going to say, Maria, let's make a goal of taking this assessment next week. The last time you got 0, so did you get them all wrong? We can look into that. Or did she skip them all, right? So we noticed it took her a day to complete this. She started at 11:30 a.m. and she finished this the next day. So there might be room for conversation, but this gives us nice information onto what other assessments she's taken and where we might be able to lean in. Again, I might click on the skill itself, the scatter plot skill, which is going to take me to accessing that wheel here, which is where I would access resources for Maria, or resources for myself as a teacher, someone who may not have taught math. I might need a refresher here. This is where you want to go to the details. If you're not a math teacher, or if you are a math teacher, again, need a refresher, it's the details. So the details will provide you with, here's an essential question you might want to ask Maria. So why do we look for associations within data? There also might be notes that you might want to encourage Maria to take. Here's an exit ticket. You might want to have Maria lean in and take that exit ticket. So there's information for us as well that we could use to support Maria. Even though we may not be the experts on scatter plots, we can definitely be the experts on asking those essential questions and supporting the students with taking those notes and helping them to select the best resource. And then again, we have our help request on the side here, which we accessed earlier, and that just lets us know, okay, within Maria, she didn't ask for any help on scatter plots we're noticing here, but she did ask for help on solving two-step equations, and she left us a note here, so we can also see if she left us notes. Perhaps she did this during homework time and wanted to let us know the next day. So again, we want to make sure we're paying attention to those particular tabs there. Felt like that was pretty, rushed, but again, you will have this video and you will have access to more resources as well. I'm going to show you where you can access those additional resources here. Get us back to another tab.
While you're doing that, Latoya, I just wanted to point out that every student, after they have the diagnostic, they are going to have recommended skills that they can start with. So if the math teacher hasn't assigned skills, every student's going to have their roadmap ready to go for them. So don't feel like you, especially if you're a non-math teacher and not sure what core is being covered that day or what skills they need to work on. If nothing is assigned, they can work through their recommended skills. And so I just wanted to point that out on the student side of things.
Thank you. Okay. Moving forward, just trying to. My slides are not changing. There we go. There we go. Thank you. Can everyone see my screen here? Thumbs up. I think we can.
Yes, we can.
Thank you so much, Rosa. All right, so I just want to get us to actually accessing those resources. You will have these the slides as well. So there are some slides that I did not go over, but there are screenshots in here that include the screenshots to those roadmaps, different reports that I just walked us through. So you'll be able to see that as well. You'll be able to see this slide here, which is just really information on how you can motivate and encourage students. And I would definitely encourage you all to look through this information and think about how you can use goal setting with students, how you can create celebrations and competitions to motivate and encourage students to get a higher score or to complete certain skills within their particular ladder. So definitely encourage you to take a peek at this. Here's where I really wanted to spend the last couple of minutes here, is really talking about where to go for additional supports and resources. As I promised you all, this is not a one-off. Yes, this is 35 minutes, but there's definitely more opportunities for you all to receive the benefits of being one of our roadmaps teachers here. And so part of that is access to our help center, where you'll be able to submit questions. If one of those questions might be, where can I find this this resource at? Or I have a question about enrolling a student in this particular course. So you definitely want to access our help center and access those help articles. So articles were basically information on the teachers like yourself I need information on strategies and how can they some test prep opportunities for a roadmap. So there might be articles there that will really help you to make those decisions and really help you continue with your ongoing learning. I also encourage you to visit the Teacher Hub. This is where we have those principal resources. You don't have to create anything. It's there for you. Webinar recordings, so recordings like this particular one, data recordings, test prep recordings. You'll be able to access the saved resources and materials and be able to view them at your leisure time or your next PD as a team. You'll also be able to have access to our monthly newsletters, which are released every third Wednesday of the month. The monthly newsletters highlight, again, great activities, what's going on. If it's the 100th day of school, we have some 100th day of math activities, or it's Black History Month. Okay, we have some activities aligned to some Black mathematicians, for example. So some really just fun, engaging activities, news and information in there, what's happening in Teach to One roadmaps. So to encourage you all to visit that. And then we also have our office hours. So it's just a lot of support. So with our office hours, you have an opportunity to meet one-on-one with myself or our colleagues here, share questions, share any concerns you have, supports, brainstorm together, bring your schedule, we can plan together, we can, issues you might be having with getting particular students engaged. So again, definitely a collaborative opportunity here. And so we encourage you to take advantage of those office hours. And in doing so, you'll have here our Calendly information. So I encourage you to click here where you can meet with me one-on-one and sign up for a 30-minute, more or less, depending on in your schedule. But we can definitely spend time, again, exploring how to support you and your students with roadmaps, and definitely making sure you feel comfortable and competent to lead your students with using this. So please click on that information there. And if you're interested in just Teach to One's solutions for schools, or just for more information as a parent, perhaps, or just more information as a school leader, there's information here where you can contact my colleague, Paula, where you can get some one-on-one support from her as well. I feel like that was definitely a mouthful here. It was for me, definitely. Anyway, it was an earful for you all. I'm going to take a breath and pause here and ask if you guys have any questions here for myself or any of my colleagues here, any immediate thoughts.